call the public session to order, and there's no action coming out of executive session. So let's begin with the portion of the agenda where we invite people to speak to the board. Sorry. Yeah. Please go green. So is there anyone here who would like to speak to the board? Take this opportunity to speak to the board. District personnel. So hearing no one, we'll move along to the approval of minutes from June 17th. I'll entertain a motion. We approve the minutes from June 17th?
So move. One second.
Okay. Any discussion? Amendments? Correction? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain, but I moved. Is that okay? Okay.
Were you here?
I wasn't here. No, but I read
So you
them.
have to abstain. Right?
I read them.
You want to hear, yeah.
Okay, and move along to the superintendent's reports. Dr. Helena.
Okay, I really just have one thing to report tonight, and to kind of do an end of the year, a very brief update on the end of the year. First, to start off with, I want to thank our faculty, our staff, and our administration, our parents, our community, and our students for another great year in Kingston City School District. I would say this is my 10th year as a superintendent, and by far this is one of the most challenging and uniquely challenging school years, both for internal and for external forces that have forced a lot of change here in schools. So I think that the way the school year went and the way it ended was really a credit to the people who work in our district. So I do want to thank them for a successful school year. As you all know, last week was a week of celebrations. Mr. Olson, Mr. Verge, our assistant superintendents, and I were able to attend each of the moving up ceremonies. None of those moving up ceremonies went uncovered by someone here from Central Administration, so I want to thank them for going out of their way to make sure that they were at every elementary school, at the middle schools, and then at the high school graduation as well. So I appreciate that. I mean, it's important that we're there and we see our kids and we see the end result of the work of all the people in this district. So I appreciate that. Furthermore, I want to thank the entire administrative staff. Except for one of our building principals, all of our administrators, and it was for a personal reason that was understandable, all of our administrators were in attendance at the 100th graduation of the class of 2015, the 100th anniversary of graduation. So I thank them for coming. Again, not a requirement of their job, something they just did. They came, they gave their caps and gowns, and they sat with us, and it was great to have all of us together for that. So I thank them. And they enjoyed it thoroughly. I got several emails of people saying, "I wish we had done this before." So we'll be doing it again next year. And I do want to thank the forces that be that gave us good weather for graduation as well. Much of the data is we're still putting together a lot of data at the end of the year. You know, we just finished less than a week ago, but I do have some data that I'd like to report to the board, mostly around our graduating class of 2015. We had 388 graduates from Kingston High School. Of those 388 graduates, 41%, or 182 of them, received advanced Regents diplomas. We currently right now have looking at our retention rate at Kingston High School's 9th grade academy at being just about 9%, but we have a potentially will be reduced to 6% because we have summer school. It's a slight bump up from last year, but speaking with Mr. Reinhardt and Ms. Fitzgerald this morning, actually Ms. Fitzgerald spoke to this morning, we're feeling pretty confident that with the summer school numbers, we'll see that reduced down to that 6%. Our graduation rate, Mr. DeSico let the cat out of the bag a little bit at the graduation, but that's okay. We won't blame him for that because it was a lot through his efforts and the entire efforts of the high school team, faculty, staff, administration. We see all students' graduation rate, we are at 82.2%. That's an increase from 78% last year, and that is 11% higher, 11 percentage points higher than the 2010-2011 school year. We are looking at our summer school potential. Our summer school potential would be 84%. So we're looking at 82 and 84% being the highest graduation rates we've seen in the district in more than 10 years. Looking just quickly at some of our subgroups. Our black students' graduation rate this year was 70%, which is up 2%, up 2 percentage points from last year. We're doing it at 68%. It is up 23 percentage points from the 2010-2011 school year. Our Hispanic and Latino students, 70% graduation rate, which is up from 60% last year, and is up 10 percentage points from 2011 class 2011, 2010-2011 school year. Our economically disadvantaged students, 70% graduation rate. So it's the same as it was last year. Actually, last year was 7%, but it is also up 11% from the 2010-2011. Our students with disabilities, we still remain pretty steady at that 50% rate. So that's an area where we really have to, obviously, through our conversations about the budget, this is one of the areas we focus and one of the areas we wanted to put more resources because that's when we were staying pretty steady at that 50%, and we've been there since that 2010-2011. So again, finding seeing what we're looking at, seeing where we need to put our resources, and that's part of why we made the budget presentation that we did. And I think one of the other things to just say as the final part of this is it's important to recognize that these were all June numbers, so not August numbers, and I'm comparing them to August numbers. So we're seeing these increases. And when we come to August, I'll report back out on those increases. So those increases from previous school year or previous school report cards you'll see are going to be even greater. So we're unbelievably pleased. I see Mr. Reinhardt's here. He's not here for this, but I do want to thank him and congratulate him on this achievement. And seeing what he and his faculty has been able to mobilize his faculty to do. Thank Mrs. Bonville, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education, working with Mr. Reinhardt. And really, I've said it before, it's not really about just the high school. It's about what we're doing from K to 12. And I think that we see the high school moving in the right direction. This is where we have the most data right now. We'll have more elementary and middle school data later on in the summer, so I'll report put everything all together into one solid report for that. But I did want to just hit on those numbers for you.
Dr. Scoble.
I just have a quick question. This is very exciting. It's very exciting, so I'm really happy to hear it, and it's very heartening. Does this get us one step in toward getting off of the focus district list?
No.
Is that because of our subgroups?
Well, no, really, we're looking at it, and we had this conversation with some people from state ed. I mean, as we rise out of it from the focus or from the high school achievement situation, we're rolling right back into it at the elementary because our participation rate is not making it's not making the 95%, which will put us into the list. So we can fall down in just about any other area and keeps us on the list, even if we come out of the areas where we're identified.
But when you're identified as a focus group, you're a focus district, aren't you identified for a specific issue?
Yes.
So we will no longer be I'm asking this, will we be a district in focus for graduation rates as we have been, or will we now be for participation
We'll be
rates?
for other things.
Okay.
But
and
we
does
won't,
that happen
we
this
won't
year,
come out.
or do we have to do 2 years of
You have to have
repeating?
2 years in a row of reaching it. Now, also, again, we have to look at some of the other benchmarks within our subgroups because we're still, even as the years go on, the benchmarks still go up.
Right.
So even though we're going up, the benchmarks go up as well. So we're still looking to hit that 80% in our economically disadvantaged, 80% in our black students, and to keep moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Hudson.
I'm very pleased to hear the report. I'm excited about it. But what do you attribute to the increase in graduation rate across the board?
Yeah, I think the increase, it's been the same as what I said last year and what we started 2 years ago, is really just to focus on the needs of each individual student. Focus on what do our students need to graduate. Pulling each student out. Mr. Reinhardt kind of took on that task as well. Making sure that we knew what everyone needed, having credit recovery available to students, making sure kids were scheduled where they needed to be, and really just to focus on it. And you look at, and there's the piece of looking at the 9th grade academy as those students are going to roll through. We're going to see that increase. So I think it's shining a light on the issue, having focus, making sure everyone knows your focus, knows what our mission is. Our mission is to graduate kids. Our mission is to graduate students. So it's not anything fancy in a box. It's not something we brought in a consultant to tell us about. It's just a matter of seeing every kid, knowing what they need, paying attention to them, following up with them, having adults assigned to them who get them where they need to go. And I think that's the method right now. Now, the long term, we've talked about this, with the long term, plan is, again, the new initiatives that we started educationally from K all the way up to the time they get to the high school. So we have a short-term plan, which is this real high intense focus at the high school of kids who are making sure which we're not going to go away from, but the long range plan is putting into place those educational programs and initiatives that will have our students ready when they get to the high school. Ninth grade academy being one of them, the change in the middle school model being another one. So those are the things that we continue to focus on.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right. I would like to
So I
ask,
have, well, it was a year-end question, you were talking about the other, so we've just completed the second year of 5th grade in middle school, right?
Correct.
And how has that gone this year as opposed to last year? Are there any complaints about it?
There haven't been. I had, last year there was the transition year. We haven't had it's become the new normal much more quickly than I expected it to. I actually received a letter over the weekend from a parent, a Miller parent, 5th grade Miller parent, and saying that how upset she was that her 5th grader was going to Miller, and at the end of the year how pleased she was with the experience that they had at Miller. So we haven't. Again, there's still growing pains there. It's not all perfect, but I think the transition has happened pretty smoothly. I think the academic reports at the end of this year will tell us a lot as well.
I was here when you came on the board. I was excited and still excited. But has it been 10 years already? Did you say 10 years?
No, I've only been
it
feels like 10 years. Just this year alone.
I didn't think it was 10 years. I've been sleeping.
No, I'm just looking back to 10 years.
Oh, okay.
3.5, Reverend.
That sounds more like it.
I have a question, and actually, it's sort of a follow-up to Dr. Shkowitz's question. Giving more support to the co-taught classes at the elementary school and special ed, do we see that as a strategy that the state will look at when they're examining us to come off of a focus district list?
The state doesn't. The state doesn't care what we do. They care what the outputs are.
Okay.
So we can talk to them all day about things that we're doing. What they want to see is evidence of impact, not evidence of effort, which is our new language that we speak around here. But I won't say deliberate intentionality, no matter how many times they try to make me. I won't say it. So, they're really not, they may mention it, in the reviews, oh, this is promising, but they want to see the outputs. And that's it, bottom line. And the way the focus and priority is not even about getting off lists. There will always be focus schools. There will always be priority schools. It's about a percentage of the way the algorithm is set up, for lack of a better word, I guess. At this point, there's always going to be a bottom 10% performing schools in the state, no matter what. Even if they are well above the state standards. Even if they meet that threshold, there's always going to be a bottom 5 performing school. So in the way their system is set up, there will always be focus and priority schools, regardless of what their performance is, because there's always going to be a bottom 10%. No matter what, there's going to be a bottom 10%. No matter what, there's going to be the bottom 5%.
Right, but the focus, that's the priority school is the bottom.
5%.
Right.
Focus is bottom 10.
Okay. Yes, well, hopefully we'll move away from that kind of thing eventually. But I did have another.
It's like a stigma.
It's a black hole.
So we now have these alternate pathways to graduation, alternate for students with special needs who now can take, 4 regents instead of 5 and an alternate 5th
Correct.
exam, right?
Yes.
Which to me, well, we won't talk about that right now. But do you see that helping with our graduation rate for students? Or it doesn't seem to me to be enough of an alternative.
We haven't, and I think Mr. Reinhardt, I hope Mr. Reinhardt would agree. I don't think we've seen enough of it yet to think it's going to get there. I mean, because many of the pathways are there. Okay, they kind of already exist. We knew that, and we do that. But there's some of the new pathways that are coming. We don't even have those the regs around and the offerings to make these things happen. So I think eventually, when it gets fully implemented, it will find other ways for students to get to graduation. But right now, I mean, it hasn't had an impact on us this year. I think it won't next year.
Do you have any numbers on how many students receive a CDOS?
This year?
Yeah.
I did, and Mr. Reinhardt sent it to me. And do you know if copy had see that? I have it in my email, I'm sure. Yeah, it wasn't. It was just a few.
6 students.
Okay, while he's pulling that up, I'll have to come with that.
I'd also be interested in data about college going rates. So how many students are going to four-year colleges, two-year colleges,
Okay, we have that.
military work, those kind of things.
Another question, do we follow the kids after they've left for college, when they're matriculated in college? Do we do surveys afterwards? So we don't know for sure how many of the students stay in college.
We don't. That is one of those. That is one of those things that the state has been trying to capture, and they can compel the SUNYs to report to them, but they can't compel the privates to report to them. So it's so-so data at best as far as its reliability. But that's been a lot of conversation.
Would the district ever consider doing graduate surveys?
I mean,
You know, in
we absolutely could.
2 years,
I mean,
4 years, find out.
we'd have to, it'd just be about finding, if we would get a valid sample back as far as responses to really have any, come to any real conclusions to report.
Or in Costa?
Do we know how many, like last Friday, do you know how many of that group is going to go to college?
Yeah, we have all that data, and then when I report everything, we can grab all that data. When I report everything, probably later on in the summer, I'll have some elementary information in there as well. I'll have a more comprehensive kind of report for you on the 2015 class.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move along to the reorganizational consent agenda. We have 2 consent agendas tonight. Entertain, are there any items anybody on the board would like pulled from the reorganizational agenda, consent agenda first? Dr. Shkovowitz.
R19.
Okay. Any others? Okay, hearing no others, I would like to entertain a motion to accept the organizational consent agenda minus R19.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, R19. Yes. You move it? I need a second. Discussion. Yes.
I'm just wondering if, I'm looking at the parent representatives, I'm wondering if this is an updated list of parents. Like, do these parents get contacted every year and asked if they want to stay on this list?
Are they?
I'd have to find out for you. I know that Beth Lewis Jackson, the special ed chief, is the person who goes through these resolutions and make sure that they're accurate, so I'll find that information out for you.
Okay, because I know at least one person on this list whose child doesn't attend the district anymore, isn't in school in the district anymore, so I'm just wondering if he's still, if she's purposely on it.
Is that a requirement to have a student still in the district?
No, you just not. You don't have to have a student.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a
Okay.
parent. Yeah.
Right, it just made me wonder
Yeah.
whether it was something right.
So what was the protocol on that? We have to wait until you call up to vote on it? Or do we vote on it?
No, I think you can vote on it.
It's also the same names on R20.
On 18.
If you're on the past. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. I mean,
Well, all that person has to do is decline if they no longer would be on it. Just call up.
yes, I know, but if our list of parent representatives isn't accurate or isn't current, then I think that poses an issue.
I don't know that it's not
Sure.
accurate information, but I mean, I had to follow up with Beth Lewis Jackson. She is the one who looks at the resolutions and makes sure they're accurate. So I would assume that they're accurate, but I will check up first thing tomorrow morning to be sure. But I don't see why they wouldn't be.
Not having parent representatives approved by the board between now and July 15th will do what to CSE meetings?
It depends on the type of CSE meeting.
Right.
You
So
know,
it could
you should
potentially,
wrap-
yeah, it could potentially postpone
Right.
meetings in the next 3 weeks.
Are we doing meetings in the next 3 weeks? Is this the-
We do meetings all summer long.
I know, I hear that, but
There will be.
I hear differently from parents.
So it's not something we want to table to act on.
Well, we can vote on it. I mean,
We'll
it
vote
says
on
the
it.
above position shall be authorized until such time as the Board of Education
Okay.
considers further action. So if we need to change it, we change it.
All those in favor of R19, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm just going to abstain, and I should have abstained from R20 also, just until we have the final information.
Okay.
And
Go
our
back
final
and
one,
change
too.
that.
I know.
Okay. All right, so we're on to the regular consent agenda, which begins on page 10.
Can we comment on the,
I'm sorry.
can we comment on the reorganization agenda or not?
You have a burning need to comment on something?
Yes, I do. I see we passed the meeting schedule, and I would like it to be that, since we're meeting mainly in this building, that the elementary people are asked to come here monthly.
Okay, now you, all right, we've had this discussion, and do you want to comment on
Yeah,
that?
I'll be communicating with the building principals, and we'll have a presentation from each of the buildings to come here for our meetings throughout the year, to make sure that we do get that our principals do have the opportunity to
Right.
share with us things that are going on in their
They would
buildings.
be invited to do so.
Right.
And also, we wanted to encourage board members to, in addition to all the events that you're invited to maybe do some regular visitations, only if you can, and set up a master calendar for that so the principals would know when we're coming. Because I think one of the things that was intended when we met at the schools was that the board members, the trustees, would become familiar with the culture of the building. But often, because we're tied up in executive session and, we're in the library or in music room or, some locked room, when we're having discussions, we don't really get to talk to people or tour the building, and I think we get a better idea of the culture of the building. And some of you have really gone out of your way to get to events while the school is in operation and actually see. And we felt maybe that gave you a better idea of the culture of the building. Then in addition to that, we talked a little bit about adding some Saturday meetings for two reasons. Coffee and conversation is not always well attended, but also parents feel very often at board meetings they don't have an opportunity to talk to the board members, that there aren't enough of those community opportunities to speak to the board members. So we're talking about doing a Saturday meeting for the trustees who would like to volunteer, one in September to kick off the year, another in January, mid-year, and a third one in April, probably shortly before the budget vote.
We also, I thought was a good consideration, was that since a lot of the people from, should I say, our sub-community, whatever you want to call it, don't come to these meetings, it would be nice to take a meeting there. And we could set up a hall in a location where we know that people go. And I think having board do some, or administration do some presentations of what's going on in the district and to have them raise questions would be good. So since they're not coming to us, I think we need to take it there. And
All good ideas. I know Ms. Guido had also suggested setting up a table at the farmer's market on
Yes.
Saturdays and talking to people who came to the farmer's market. We'd have to
They were
get
receptive
them.
towards the dates were all through the hundreds.
Yeah. The coffee and conversation, we were actually invited by Barnes & Noble to come. So we talked about the possibility of every other month holding coffee and conversation at Barnes & Noble where there's usually a lot of foot traffic in and out of the cafe, and they would put up a poster, advertising that we were going to be there. And then on the alternate months, we would go to our traditional sites in town, Hudson Coffee Traders, Monkey Joe's, etc. Just to see if the change in venue might help the participation rate.
So I think we now have a banner too, right? So people see us and our presence a little more. Didn't we?
A banner? No, we hadn't decided that, but
I
that's
thought
not a bad
I
idea.
thought Mrs. Heidecker ordered it. And
Oh,
it was,
Yeah, I think we have like a table cover thing.
Yeah,
We have
that's
one.
what I mean. So it becomes a little more clear and professional.
Okay.
It's not like a piece of paper.
And this is for what?
Handwritten.
This is actually in addition to what we usually do for coffee and conversation.
I mean, the one thing about the farmer's market is from 9 to 2, right? I mean, it's a 5-hour event. That's-
A lot of time to sit back. You have to rotate.
Well, when I
We
contacted
could.
them,
Who's
Yeah.
going to volunteer from the board to be there for 5 hours?
Well, you
When-
could have
you could
a
split it.
certain time.
when
or
I
we could
contacted
split
them, it was
yeah.
with like 11 to 11 to 1 or some. I told them a window. I didn't say we'd be there for 5 hours.
Yeah. So maybe that would be a better way to go, a window. So like coffee and conversation, we're there for an hour and
Yeah,
hour and a half,
in the
or
middle
whatever.
of the.
But we're trying to make
High point.
ourselves more accessible to the public in a venue where you could have a conversation. So, any other questions or comments about the reorganizational
I
agenda?
have a place.
Yeah.
Where they are and who contact, because most of the time it's a contact issue.
With the board's permission, Camila and I will set up a schedule and make all the arrangements for as far as Barnes and Noble and a couple of the community sites that that have been given to us
And the master calendar.
and the master calendar for
Right.
the board.
And Dr. Palin will
Like
be
that.
communicating with all of the principals and inviting them to come and do presentation. And certainly will make the time if they're going to do that. Yes.
And maybe we can, once the school year gets going, email the PTA presidents again and see if, I had liked that idea, Dr. Publix, even though only one responded, maybe we keep going, maybe. Maybe not, I don't know.
We can keep trying,
I
yeah.
think it's important. And,
Definitely.
whether they take advantage of it or not is another issue.
Definitely. Mr. Shaughnessy.
I think that some of the venues should be outside of the city of Kingston. For instance, Port Ewan or somewhere in the Sofas, Lake Katrine. There's lots of families there that are not going to come into the city of Kingston.
True. Any other comments about the reorganizational agenda? Okay, then we'll move along to the regular consent agenda. Are there any items that board members would like pulled from the regular consent agenda?
B05.
P?
B, business, 05. B05.
Okay. Any others? Any others? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda minus P05.
No, B is in boy.
I'm sorry.
So moved.
B05.
So moved.
B05.
Second? Okay. All right. All those in favor of consent agenda minus B05, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? B05, I'll entertain a motion for B05.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
What is it? It's a elementary school technology refresher with a fiscal impact of $387,998.15. That's a lot of money for, I don't know what it is.
Mr. Olson, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. We've also purchased 400 new computers for the district, in addition to some associated gear. The average price of a computer within this particular purchase is on the order of $800 or $825. These are primarily desktop computers, but there are some also laptops. So that's what it is. We typically do rotating 3-year IPAs with BOCES, so that we actually finance these computers at a fairly low interest rate. I don't know if that, is the interest rate shown in the...
1.97.
About 2%, right. So that's what it is. It enables us to get these and spread out the things.
So is this something that we do every year or every 3 years? I mean, 400 computers,
Well, in our district, there are computers that are up to almost 10 years old. We nurse these computers along to the greatest extent possible. So there are always computers. Every summer there are computers being changed out in the elementary schools, in the high school, in the middle schools, in this building for administration. So it's a very...
It's a rolling cycle.
A cyclic thing. So you have computers, as you know, in classrooms, but you also have computer labs. We have computers on carts. And then, of course, in a building like this, there's probably at least one computer for every individual who works here, and then there are a couple others, so there's probably 60 in this building.
okay.
Any other questions? Yes.
It says for grades 2 through 4, so it'll be throughout the district?
Yeah, this particular thing is for grades, for the lower grades.
Any other questions or comments? B05? All right, all those in favor of B05, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And in Mrs. Collins' absence, we have a grant and a donation. On page 15, B02 and B03, we have a volunteer to read. Or I can.
I'll read.
Okay, go ahead. B02.
Whereas the M. Clifford Miller Middle School is the recipient of a generous grant award from the Community Foundation of the Hudson Valley in the amount of $1,500. Do I read the whole thing, or is that enough?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
whereas-
we approved it, but so we know,
Yeah.
we know what it is.
And whereas JFK Elementary School is the recipient of a generous donation from Target in the amount of $25.
Thank you very much. And thank you both to the Community Foundation of Hudson Valley and to Target. Okay. All right, and we've reached the portion of the agenda. And we have board reports. Board of Education reports. First one deals with committee assignments. You should have all received the assignments from last year. If you have a concern about your assignment, please contact Camille as soon as possible. Usually, if you're working on the committee, we just carry that over. So you can plan on attending and chairing the committees that you did last year, unless you have a strong feeling about that. So, and we'll move on to Policy Committee, and in Mrs. Collins' absence, because she's observing her child receive an award this evening, Reverend Childs has agreed to present the first reading.
Okay, we have two policies for first reading. The first one is Policy 0050, which is a statement of vision, mission, and belief. It's a very short one. Excellence in everything is the vision, and the mission: we inspire, we educate, we graduate all students, all of them. And the beliefs: we believe high expectations and varied learning experience inspire all students to reach their full potential. A positive school culture is the foundation of an effective teaching and learning environment. Change is essential for progress. A collaborative partnership of students, school district, family, and community is critical to the successful education of all, and upon commencement, all students will be college and career ready. And then the other one I won't read is Policy 5320, and in that policy you'll see that there are bold places in it which shows changes, in other places where things have been crossed out, and shows the modification in this student harassment and bullying prevention and intervention. So read it, and we'll be voting on it after the third reading.
Next board meeting.
Next board meeting.
Next board meeting. Thank you very much, Reverend Childs. Mr. Shaughnessy, I'm sorry.
I just have a quick
Question about that.
and I don't know that this is necessarily a policy question, but it talks about the Vader reports in this last one, and I'm just wondering when we'll get the reports for this year.
We don't get the beta reports till September. Late August, September.
So we'll see it around then.
Right.
Any other questions? Mr. Shaughnessy, Audit and Finance?
The Audit and Finance Committee met on the 25th, was it? June.
Oh, no, okay, let's be that. I'm not sure off the top of my head. 22nd?
No, it's 20.
No, 27th?
25th. A week ago yesterday, Tuesday. So we had the treasurer's reports. The only treasurer's reports which were included with the board packet are the fund reports. We don't have the included the revenue and expenditure reports. Will they be forthcoming at some point? But we can accept the general fund reports, or the fund reports, and that's BOE 02. We'll move that resolution, move the acceptance of those reports.
I'll second it. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry, that was BOE 03.
Aye.
Anyway,
The claims auditor, treasurer's report?
yeah, the claims auditor is BOE 02.
Okay.
But we could accept both of them. The claims auditor report is almost 442 claims and 0 exceptions,
That's wonderful.
which is typical. We've only had a few instances where there have been exceptions in recent years. So I'll move BOE 02 and BOE 03. Can we consider them
Okay.
together?
We're going to move them together. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And on to the extra classroom activities.
We also had a charter application for a new club, the Star Club, and the board had a presentation on this club earlier in the spring or late winter. I believe it was at George Washington School. This is a club that will be sponsored by the United States Army. Is that correct, Mr. Reinhardt? So typically we don't approve these clubs. We approve them and recharter them in December, but this is a new club, and we thought it might be controversial to some board members, so that it was worthy of bringing it to the board now. We asked Mr. Reinhardt to attend, to answer any questions about it.
So do you want to move that resolution?
Yeah, we'll move that resolution, and
I'll second that.
we'll open it for discussion, and if Mr. Reinhardt would like to make a statement about it.
Open the floor for discussion. The resolution, do you think it's appropriate to read the resolution? It's on the top of the next page.
Sure, I can read it. Whereas the Board of Education of the Kingston City School District has received a request from the Kingston High School to approve an extra classroom activity club as follows: Kingston High School Star Club, and whereas Kirk Reinhardt, the principal of Kingston High School, has certified that Star Club has met all the criteria set forth by the district to become an extra classroom activity club, and whereas Dr. Paul Patalino, superintendent of Kingston City School District, recommends to the Board of Education the establishment of Star Club at Kingston High School, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education accept the recommendation to establish the Star Club at Kingston High School as an extra classroom activity club.
Okay, thank you. And I will open the floor for discussion. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Mr. Michael.
I was strongly opposed this Star Club be offered to the 9th and 10th graders. I think it's quite early to introducing our youth to the military. with all the respect I have for the military, the men and the women, they serve our country, but at the March meeting, we had the military personnel, they presented the purpose of the club. And I remember, I can recall that the officer mentioned it like 10 times, is not, the purpose of the club is not for recruiting, which I do not believe that. Any way you say it, any way you masquerade it or militarily camouflage it, it's all about recruiting. And I believe it's too young for the 9th or 10th graders to be infused that idea about joining military, because I know that's what it is nothing else. I would like to see, especially the 9th, 10th graders, have the opportunity first introduce the academics in the 9th grade academy, the P-Tech, before that would be maybe for 11th and 12th graders, would be okay to join such a club. And my biggest fear is down the road, like what the military would do if we said to have a club now at high school. They would be asking to join the middle schools. And I know the military this year, I had only 10 kids joining the Army. I'm sure their goal next year is to double the number by introducing kids to the Star Club. And that's my biggest fear, It's too early to have this club, I believe, and I don't want to see New York becoming the new state of Sparta someday, because from high school to middle school, the Spartans, they took the kids from 7-year-old and introduced them to the military life. So I would say, I would vote for it if it's also introduced to 11 and 12 graders with parent consent, and that I believe that should be set as a policy.
Ms. Guido.
I had 2 questions about the club. Is this something that exists in other school districts?
Yes, Pine Bush has it.
Just Pine Bush?
That I know of.
Yeah.
Because I know the principalman is very successful at it.
And does it require parental consent to participate in the club?
Does it require what?
Parental consent to participate?
It would probably be as any other club we have at the high school.
And other clubs do require? I don't think so,
Not
right?
for athletics they do. And I know for field trips, but I think it's something that exists in my high school.
And remind me again what the activities are.
My main goal for this is what I believe it's going to bring is going to bring character education, a chance for students to be in leadership, and I think it's going to grow to a mentoring program. And we've talked years that if we had students as they came to high school, that they had upperclassmen that they could reach out to, somebody that would help them, especially a student that was an at-risk student. Now, this is a way for us to formulate a mentor program for our at-risk students to be successful, and it's not your traditional club. It's not your traditional, if I can't play an instrument or I can't draw, I'm not going to be maybe in one of those academic clubs, but this may be a venue for some of our students to be very successful. And one of the goals of it is, as the longer students are in it, they naturally kind of move up. And they have opportunities for teamwork and leadership, which is one of the things we know that helps our students be successful.
I'm just wondering how the day-to-day operations of the club go, what happens at a club meeting.
There'll be different things. So one of the things they talk about is academic intervention. There's team bonding. One of the things that I think would be awesome if our school had would be an honor guard. I know at our ceremony for the Memorial Day, it was nice that the VFW came, but I think it would be great. We have a great color guard. I can imagine being awesome at our football games or our basketball games if we provide our own color guard. I know when I went down for the athletic award breakfast down in Middletown, I believe it was Washingtonville or one of them provided the honor guard. It's a nice way for some of our students that traditionally are not in clubs to be part of something larger than themselves.
And one last. And this is who is the school chair?
It would be a school teacher advisor.
And that person hasn't been?
No, because they haven't posted or anything.
Mr. Reinhardt, you might have already answered this question actually in response to Ms. Guido's question, but you said that Pine Bush was very successful, and I'm just wondering what the markers are of that for you.
The markers for me for any program that's success is student involvement, how that translates to academic success, and students who traditionally are not involved, how are we giving them a venue where they can be successful. If you look at participation rate and graduation rate, they parallel. I'm looking for an opportunity for students who traditionally don't feel they can belong to something, that can belong to something that's a little bit different. There's orienteering, there's a physical education component of it, there's teamwork, there's team bonding. You know, it's not your traditional academic club, it's not a popular, you know, to be class advisor, class president, let's be honest, you know. So I'm looking for a way for some students to buy into something that can be special to them.
And in Pine Bush, they're seeing students who are at risk or students who would not necessarily participate in this club and then be successful. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but I'd like to see it to be a very blended club. I mean,
Right.
I'd like to see a rolling enrollment. Like, say a student plays a sport in the fall, and then their season is over. Now this is something where they're part of it, they make friends, and then it continues that way.
Mr. Shaughnessy and then Reverend
Just,
Costa.
can I interrupt one just
Oh,
before?
sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ryan. Would you come up to the podium just so? Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Shaughnessy,
Oh, it's
you had a
okay.
question?
It slipped in my mind.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Reverend Costa?
Okay, Mr.
Is the club currently functioning?
No, it'd be brand new.
So the ones that we saw in March, they were from Middletown?
No, they were people who work out of Kingston that came up to me in the summer. It was asked to me about 2 years ago if we had an ROTC program, and we don't. When I saw this program, I like the fact that the emphasis is not on the military, it's on those team building and those leadership skills, which is what we want for our students because that transcends to academic success.
Do you have any idea right now about how many students?
No, it's a program that takes a couple years to grow because the whole goal for it is to have students have an opportunity to be in leadership roles.
Right.
So you really need, to actually be in the club to really say that you're in a leadership position as a junior and senior to help mentor and bring other classmates along, especially as they transition into the high school.
What are the requirements, if any, to join it?
I want it to be open for students who want to be there and want to be part of something different.
Ms. Guido?
And it's the Star Club, so how are you recruiting people? Is it like have a military logo on it? Is it
No, that's not. My goal is, I know everybody's going to see it as a military thing, but there's a lot of qualities that come from the leadership and the training and teamwork and bonding that transcend everything else you do. I think for some students that may be their in, but I think other students may see as an opportunity to be part of something. The logo is pretty generic, but Kingston can decide how we want ours to be. But it's like any other club. I mean, one of the things we talked about at the BLT yesterday was getting all of our club enrollments up. Because students that are involved are successful. If the student leaves at 2:11 every day, they're not going to be as successful.
Mr. Shaughnessy?
A couple questions. Are there uniforms or anything
No,
like that?
they get a T-shirt. They don't
They get a
supply any
T-shirt?
uniforms or...
And I believe that at the presentation at George Washington, if it was March, the presenter, I think I asked a question about inclusion or sexual
it would be open to everybody, or I wouldn't have it.
orientation. There's no discrimination.
Nope.
And it's a supportive environment for any student who wants to
That's our goal,
participate.
exactly. Yep. And if that's not the case, then I would come to you and ask for it to be discontinued.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And as far as I know that there's specific parameters put in place for military recruiting, so would there be an oversight of this to make sure?
It would have to be. We're required to.
So they wouldn't be allowed to disseminate
Exactly.
recruiting information, or
Yep.
they would be removed.
Yep.
And that's why we have a faculty advisor. And the faculty advisor-
Yeah, that's the thing. Yep.
Do we have anyone who's interested in that?
No, it hasn't been posted yet, so I don't know. And I really would, I want to see who applies, because you don't know who's going to be that person who somewhere else in their private life is into orienteering or team bonding or all that kind of stuff, so.
Reverend Childs?
I guess my main concern, I would like to see, if we do this thing, I'd like to get a report on what the makeup of this club is, because I guess I'm more interested in doing something that will encourage the kids to get involved in the things that we got going. I don't particularly like the military slant for a lot of kids who are not doing well, and then they see that as a mode to go. So I'm not doing well here, so I'm going to go into the military, and I'm not in favor of that. I've been in the military. I'm not knocking military, but I don't want to see that as the door for kids who are not doing very well that they go into.
Well, I think the goal would be that if you learn skills and you're better academic in school, then you open up more doors and not less. if a student who was maybe struggling as a 9th and 10th grader all of a sudden now becomes a leader, becomes a mentor, their grades go up, now they've opened more doors.
Mrs. Levy.
You had mentioned academic intervention. And my feeling is there are teachers at the school who stay 10th period. That's where the kids should be sitting.
I agree. We never know which adult is going to make somebody else's life successful. I mean, I taught for a long time, and I could say the lesson 10 times. Their friend would turn to him and go, Mr. Reinhardt meant this, and all of a sudden now we don't know what adult is going to be that person that's going to be the reason why that student is successful. It can be a coach, it can be a guidance counselor, it can be a hall monitor. We don't know who's going to reach that person, and all of a sudden that kid feels self-worth. And we don't know. And if they feel better, our peer tutoring program at the high school is amazing.
Any other questions? No.
Go ahead, Mr. Chauncey.
Well, just a comment. I mean, I don't think students who participate won't be signing any commitment to,
They will not
participate. If they don't like it, they can.
It's like any club, yeah.
They could not participate. So I'm in favor of it. You never know where an activity will lead a student. Bob Pritchard posted on Facebook today, 35 years ago on July 1st, he reported for duty as a cadet at West Point, and 20 years ago on July 1st he was married, and today he starts his job at South Orangetown down in Rockland County as the new superintendent down there. So, I mean, his military experience served him well, as yours did.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor of BOE 04, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
I oppose. I'm sorry.
Okay. 2. Any abstentions? Okay. And the resolution passes.
Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt.
Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt.
So this was part of the Audit and Finance Committee. These come to the Audit and Finance Committee first. We also talked about, I don't remember everything we talked about. It went on longer than I anticipated.
Well, we got.
But there is a new version of Finance Manager that was up and running now for a month or more, and I mean, there are problems, but it's been successfully introduced. Is that fair to say, Ms. Woodard?
Is everyone getting their paycheck tomorrow? Good.
Okay. So, presume the next meeting will be the 4th Tuesday of July, which would be the 28th, I think. End of report.
Mr. Kearney's going to check it.
Actually, we're working on calendars today, but I'm not sure that I put that in.
Tuesday?
Yeah, I was working on that today.
Fourth
but did not
Tuesday.
bring it.
Okay, we'll have notice prior to the meeting, so we'll be fine. And as soon as possible, get any objections you have to committee assignments to Mr. Perner so that we can retool. We need to get the schedules out as well for those meetings. All right, moving along, we have old business. Any member of the board would like to bring up old business? Dr. Chicago.
I've just been aware we are, what we're thinking about with pre-K and the DFK program and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we are still kind of figuring out what we're going to do about JFK. I mean, as far as pre-K, other than that, we're pretty much going to go as usual for the same thing we did this year for next year. While we try to develop a few different things that I've been talking about. So JFK, we're still kind of talking about it. I know I met with Dr. Perez last week of school, and we went and saw the UPK students eating their lunch, and one of the things was, she had 24, or she had 22 or whatever. I mean, she had full because they were there all day. So we're kind of figuring how we can manage that for next year. But I mean, I'm assuming we're going to do our best to make that happen again.
Okay. And there had been some concern last year about some funds in pre-K not being used, and then the reallocation of funds to centers that might be able to use those funds.
Yes.
Does that work
That's
out?
the process right now of how we're going to allocate the slots. That's what we're doing
Okay.
this time of year.
Okay.
And actually, with part of what I'm going to ask under new business, if I have the opportunity, part of our requirement under state and by the state is that I read the pre-K sites that we'll be using, so I'll be doing that under new business.
Okay. Any other old business?
I just had a question about pre-K. I heard that through the grapevine that the slots had been changed and increased. That's not true.
Not yet. We haven't officially notified anyone yet.
Oh, okay.
Have we? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that's a lie.
And Jen said.
We officially notified people. Okay.
I think we're ahead of how we've done it previously. Mrs. Gibbons coordinated a very successful meeting with the UPK providers that we will be partnering with. She reached out to them. There's been enhanced communication and improved in previous years to work with each provider to get their preference, their I'll call it their wish list on number of slots. We couldn't necessarily meet that, but we worked with them. Mrs. Gibbons did a great job working with them. We brought them in here and met with them for about an hour a few weeks ago. So they do know their number of slots at this point, and it was a great meeting. We're going to continue to meet with them on a regular basis as we go into our new year with improvements and enhancements with curriculum that's going on. We'll be inviting them to participate more so now in our professional development that's going on within our district as well. So a lot of that hard work and is really Mrs. Gibbons' credit. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Verge.
Thank you. Any other old business? Old business? Yes.
There have been some talk a while back about art in the middle schools, and since the students who will be 8th graders next year, this coming school year, did not have art in 6th grade because it had been moved around, that we might then allow them or give them an extra art.
We're still trying.
Okay.
The middle school schedules aren't done yet, so we're still trying.
Okay, but
actually,
that's still...
Mrs. Bonville and I discussed that an hour and a half ago.
Really?
Well, 2.5 hours ago.
So, but the hope is that we'll be able to find a way to give those students the same amount of art that the other students have had in their middle school.
Well, they already have, but yes, and I'll come back to you with all the details on it.
But they didn't get art in 6th grade.
But they had more minutes than the other students had throughout the time. So, I mean, we're working on it.
Okay.
We haven't forgotten you.
Okay. I just
You're
can't bring it
concerned.
up again. Okay.
Any other old business? Okay, I have one thing. The board retreat, we talked about this last week, is scheduled for July 21st from 6 to 10. And NISPA sent us a self-evaluation that, I'm sorry, but you have to fill out, in addition to the one you already did, the board self-evaluation that we did as a district. This is the one that they would like for the custom retreat. So those of you who haven't gotten it in yet, some of you have, but there are 5 people who have not. Can you get it in as soon as possible to Camille so that she can compile it? Sooner the better. And what's that do?
No.
Oh, and we'll also be staying for a second executive session. We'll get to that part. To discuss the board evaluation, the one that we did in district. Any other old business? And now on to new business. And I'm going to turn it over to you first, Dr. Catalino. New business?
Just very quickly, as I said, one of our requirements is that we publicly state who our partners are with the Universal Pre-K and their sites. So I'm just going to read them. Aunt Jen's Early Learning Center, Community Rehab Center, UCP of Ulster County, Fair Street Nursery School, George Washington School Montessori Children's House, Hurley Nursery School, the Little Red Schoolhouse, the Montessori School of Kingston, John F. Kennedy School, the YWCA of Ulster County, Magic Circle Nursery School. Those are our partners.
That concludes.
That's it.
That's
fulfilled the requirement.
Thank you very much. And it will be available online.
Yes, this is it.
Yeah, available online as well.
I just have a bunch of questions about the new APPR that I would like to ask. It's under kind of old new business. Can I do that? Can I just ask them if you don't know? Sure. Okay.
I mean, I
so-
think, yeah, sure.
You think what?
Go ahead.
All right, I'm just going to ask. So, I know that there are a bunch of new rules and new that we must abide by. One of them. So, I have a question about the independent evaluator has to be from a different building.
Yes. Or from central office.
Okay, that was my question. So we actually have a bunch of independent evaluators.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not like we have to go finding a whole bunch of other people. Okay.
It's not the impact that it has on some smaller districts.
Smaller
Has a
districts,
huge
it would, but
impact.
for us, because we have so many. Okay, so that's good.
We're going to rent them out also.
Right. That's a good idea. That's revenue. Okay, that's a great idea. They have nothing else to do, I'm sure. It says state that for the student performance category, state created or administered tests. So there are a bunch of state tests that have to be approved if you want to do a supplemental piece to the student performance category in addition to the state test.
Right.
Are those the ones that
That's
have
more
already been
testing.
approved, like STAR and those things that we've already?
We don't know yet.
Okay. No. Mr. Olson, this is your answer to whether I like this or not, is that it's really hard to navigate through. When we talk about so there's this whole thing about next generation assessments, and this, so it seems to me that when they say next generation assessments, what they're talking about are performance-based assessments, is that right? Or like non-standardized test assessments? Is that what they mean? Is that like a portfolio?
It's not clearly defined, but yes.
I just find it interesting that they're calling it next generation when we've had that kind of assessment available to us forever.
John, Joellen, or Beth, you want to chime in on that?
I mean, it's not clearly delineated with how they can define that term by next generation. I mean, we've certainly talked about it in our IMET meetings down at BOCES. There could be performance tasks. There could be, a lot of the conversation also comes out from, how the SLOs are going to be impacted. There's still a lot of variables with it. Are you going into school, a faculty be measured by like what's called the all-in, or do they go by the ELA, for example? So there's a lot of things kind of still in the box right now.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what it seems like. I was just wondering. Right. I'm assuming we'll have all these answers before we're negotiating these with our okay.
Even in the prior draft, we leaned so heavily on David and his interpretation, and his team's interpretation, and their communications back and forth with the state education department to really guide us.
Right.
Because there's, as you know, there's a lot of ambiguity in there, and it's difficult to find out what they really are saying.
Okay. And it sounds like everyone's going to have a backup SLO just in case.
Yes.
That is a lot of work.
So,
just a comment.
No, I just wanted to say is that what we're doing is we're working on embedding the message into part of instruction rather than something additional. So it should not be as tremendous or a negative impact.
Do we get to create the performance growth, the growth curve for that, or that's a state created? The state will have to create that, the growth measure for the SLOs.
I don't know the answer to that. You're saying the state now is determining them, but they don't necessarily have every assessment that can be picked, so I don't know how to do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I can at least access on this thing right now. So.
And while Mrs. Gibbons is right, we're working to embed the SLOs. That's work too. And that's a big change in culture.
Can you describe what that means a little bit?
As far as embedding the SLOs?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll let Joellen and Mary Beth and John kind of jump that a little bit.
Instead of giving just a separate test, you get the test to get it measured. It's going to be part of the instruction, and the information from it will drive further instruction on an individual student basis. So, it's not above and beyond. It's part of what we normally would do.
So it's not a test at the beginning of the year that's given. It'll be something that's
No, it still could be, but it's not a test just to get a score. It's a test that's going to let us know where we have to move instructionally for which students. It will help us in regrouping, for example, if we're going to do level instruction. It's a test that we're going to get information from that are usable for instruction, not just to get a score. And the same thing towards the end of the year.
And so it'll be something that's given at various times over the year? It's not a single occurrence? Is that the way it has been a single occurrence?
I think it might be different for different subject areas and different grade levels, but that's what we're looking at is to track progress over the course of the school year. And then we would still have that information for the SLO, but not for the purpose of only an SLO, but to use the information later.
So we do a lot of assessments, especially in the middle school. You have your mid-unit, you have your end-of-unit. Can we use those as our SLOs? Because we're doing them anyway.
I mean, that's one of the things. We had a committee of people work on the teaching support grant, and that was something that they actually began to look at. You know, how do we approach testing in a more purposeful way? How do we test smarter, not harder? So we had a couple of pilots on testing. One was at middle level social studies, where they were trying just that. Trying to use, like Joanne talked about, that embedded assessment and ways that we can kind of make it a little more purposeful and set not just for a number.
Right. So if we're the concern is that with a backup SLO, everyone's going to have to do them because you may not meet your participation rate at the end, and you will not know that in the beginning of the year. And so to put yet another test on kids,
But that's why it's part of the instruction.
Right.
Everybody would automatically have it anyway,
Right.
so it's not extra thing.
Okay. Any other new business? Okay, the only, you have another question? Stop that, no.
Just trying to clarify, I'm sorry.
The only other bit of new business I have is the need for two special meetings. One, July 21st or 27th, we'll have it right before the retreat on the 21st at 5:30 p.m. If this is for the purpose of approving bids. Bids are going to be out on the street shortly, or the bids are going to be opened, and then they'll be coming in mid-July. On the 16th, I believe, is the due date for the next set. And then again at the end of July, and we're asking for another special meeting on August 30th. So and I know this is August 3rd. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for correcting me. August 3rd, so that we can keep the process rolling and approve the bids as they come in, so that they can actually start on the project. This is for the KHS 100. No, KSQ Second Century. Too many acronyms. So the first one on July 21st. If it's not possible, if the bid's ready on the 21st, because that's a pretty short deadline. The 22nd, I think we agreed we're going to have them all at 5:30 p.m. I know people are in and out of town, but Camille will be contacting you to find out who's available then. We need a quorum. And August 3rd, again, at 5:30 p.m. One-item agendas. I'm only taking a look at the bids. Any other new business? Okay. We've reached this section of the agenda. We have board member announcements. Any board member would like to make an announcement at this point? Mr. Michael.
Yes, I would like to thank Mr. Reinhardt, while he's here, for him and his personnel. They helped to make the 100th graduation such a success. But also I would like to thank one of our former teachers, Mrs. Card, and our former principal, Mrs. Brett, for expressing better than anybody else could the vision and the mission of our school district statements, and also the fair commitment we have for our community.
Thank you. Anybody else? I would like to say that every administrator in the district was present at commencement, so that was wonderful. Thank you all, and all of your colleagues at the administrative level. That's a great show for commencement. It's an important event, and I'm sure it meant a lot to the graduates to see their elementary principals, their middle school principals, all the high school people they've dealt with, and everybody else along the way. So thank you. And now we've reached public participation. Anyone like to address the board at this point? No? No? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session, just the board, to discuss the board evaluation.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, okay, any discussion about that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then I'll speak at once. You're all excited about it. Opposed? All right. And so now we're adjourning. There'll be no action coming out of executive session.